it's been a while since the last best starter video, a full year to be exact, and well, I think it's time I finally get back on the horse. And since Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee's release amounted to over 3 million copies in sales, the most of any Switch game ever, I think it's pretty safe to say that people are playing this game. But Eryizo, out of Eevee and Pikachu, which one is the best starter? Well, little Jimmy, I'm glad you asked that question, because today, I'm going to be answering that. 2 weeks later than I should have. But as always, I need a special guest to help tackle this topic because I'm too lazy to do it on my own. So I thought, why not bring on the guy that does the best team videos? Who knows, maybe I might be able to get some views out of him. So, Mystic, you want to join me?
Wow, I see how it is. Are the numbers all you care about?
Yeah.
Well, anyways, hi Eryizo, I'm sure all you guys know me by now. I make teams that go along with this dude's starter choices. If you guys want to see the best possible team to go along with this best starter, go check out the video we did over on my channel to see that team dominate Let's Go.
And in case you guys haven't seen any of the previous best starter videos, we will be looking at each important character's individual Pokemon and rate each other's starter's level of advantage or disadvantage on a scale of 1 to 5. 1 being totally disadvantaged, and 5 being at the best advantage. We take a look at stats, type matchups, moves, basically everything. And we don't just take into account the gym leaders in the Elite Four either. We also take a look at rival battles and evil teams since they are both prominent in the story. And since these games are very much different from a regular main series game, there's also going to be some slight changes to the rules.
Okay, so the rules are pretty simple. Due to Pikachu and Eevee having so many custom moves, we're going to be including a moveset for both of them. It would be a disservice if we don't, and it would be really unfair too. The movesets that we give to Eevee and Pikachu will be changing from time to time because there are different moves we can give to both of these starters to fit certain situations. I know Eryizo usually doesn't do post-game content for this best starter series, but due to heavy demand from fans, we're going to be including Red and Green as bonuses for this. They are very important characters and we think it would be interesting to add them in. Just to clarify, these will be the only battles we include for the post-game. So that means no rematches for gym leaders or Elite Four members, as well as the Eevee Master Trainer or Pikachu Master Trainers.
We should also mention that we add up more points the more times you battle an important character. For example, you battle Giovanni 3 times, so we use the rating system for each separate battle and add up the points from there. All of this should give us a good idea of who the best starter in Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee is. Just remember, there are no real opinions here, so if your favorite starter isn't technically the best, then I guess that's tough, man. I'm sorry, but we can talk about it in the comments. And now that I got my famously long intro out of the way, which I know you guys love as a side note, we can finally start with the video. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend. And with that being said, let's get started.
So I'm just gonna hop in here. We're gonna talk about Eevee first because it's better than Pikachu. No offense to anyone out there.
Well, it's not like I'm gonna disagree or agree with that one, but sure, let's start with Eevee. So first things first, let's get the obvious things out of the way. This Eevee is of course much more different than your average Eevee. Stat buffs, better moves, and 6 perfect IVs have been given to this Pokemon, so that makes up for the fact that you can't really evolve it.
Eevee also gets more coverage moves than Pikachu, which are dedicated to all of its other evolution typings. 1 move for each type to be exact.
Which I guess is a perfect segue to start talking about Eevee's strengths. So let's talk gym leaders. And of course, we have to start with Brock, who in any normal game would completely body Eevee. But since this is Let's Go and the starters are a lot more buffed in these games, Eevee gets access to Double Kick. So yeah, it completely washes the first gym. From then on, you go to Cerulean, which is a big help for Eevee, since that's where you find the first move tutor, which teaches Eevee Buzzy Buzz, Sizzly Slide, and Bouncy Bubble.
Against Misty, Buzzy Buzz does great against her due to it being electric and having 90 base power. Not to mention it always paralyzes your opponent, so Misty's Starmie gets crippled heavily. From there there's Surge, and for him you get to use Dig. Dig can be obtained from the Team Rocket grunt who breaks into that house. Eevee's moveset at this point in the game is Buzzy Buzz, Dig, Bouncy Bubble, and Swift. Later if you want to switch Swift out, you can swap it to Takedown. Surge pretty much goes down the Dig no problem, just be wary of his Thunderbolt as that has 90 base power. Erica comes up next to his in Celadon City. At this point point, you can replace Bouncy Bubble for Sizzly Slide to take on Erica, since there is a move tutor in Celadon as well. Once you take out Erica, I would recommend switching Sizzly Slide for Glitziglow because of Koga, and his Pokemon go down pretty easily with a high power move like that.
Glitziglow is also just a great move to have in general, because a lot of the Pokemon in these games are poison types, and you run into them quite a bit throughout the games because of Team Rocket. I mean, first there's Jesse and James who have Coughing and Ekans, Archer who has Coughing and Golbat, and there's even the various grunts who you battle constantly throughout the game. For this video, we decided to take the 6 most common Pokemon used by the grunts and rate each one on a scale of 1 to 5, and then add them all up, since there really are only 6 Pokemon that they use. Those being the Golbat line, the Coughing line, the Ekans line, the Raticate line, the Muck line, Voltorb, and Hypno. 4 of the 6 being poison types, and Hypno you can counter with Batibad. Funny enough, Batibad also comes in handy against Blue at Silphco, which is the only time you fight him in the main plot. His team is comprised of an Executor and Charizard, which can both be countered by Batibad and Buzzybuzz. And if we can go back to Glitziglow for a second, it also covers the one weakness it has to fighting, which is just nice to have.
Speaking of fighting weaknesses, we are also going to be including the Fighting Dojo Master as well. We feel he has a semi-important role in the story involving getting Hitmonchan and Hitmonlee. Side note, I don't think Eevee should be used here. Moving on to Sabrina though, Eevee gets access to Batibad, which is super handy against these Psychic type Pokemon. After Sabrina, we move on to Blaine. Once again, you can switch the moves this time from Fuchsia, which is on the way to Cinnabar. The current moveset we have right now is Buzzybuzz, Double Edge, which you learn at level 37, Glitziglow, and Batibad. Batibad can be switched back to Bouncy Bubble, which can be used to destroy the last 2 gym leaders being Giovanni and Blaine.
So now that we have the gyms and Team Rocket covered, let's take a look at the Elite Four. Our final moveset for Eevee going into the Elite Four has to be Buzzybuzz, Glitziglow, Double Edge or Facade, and Bouncy Bubble. We believe that this is the best moveset for the Elite Four because it covers most of their Pokemon. For Lorelei, most of her Pokemon are part water type, so Buzzybuzz takes out most of her team. You just really have to worry about Jinx. With Bruno, Glitziglow can handle Hitmonchan, Hitmonlee, and Machamp, while Buzzybuzz and Bouncy Bubble can take out Poliwrath and Onix. Glitziglow also is very effective against Agatha, completely taking out her entire team and walling Gengar at the same time. And finally, there's Lance, who just gets destroyed by electric attacks. I know we don't really have an answer to Dragonite, but we believe that Bouncy Bubble is going to be more effective for the champion, so sacrificing a move just for Dragonite doesn't really feel worth it. But that's what's great about having Eevee. It's really up to you on what moves you want to choose, because you can still counter Dragonite if you want to by just adding Sparkly Swirl instead of Stab or Bouncy Bubble.
Alrighty, now we have the champion of Let's Go being Trace. This champ is similar to Blue in the earlier games in the sense that you constantly battle him throughout the game. So of course we're going to be mentioning all the battles you face off against him towards the end of the video with the chart. But we are specifically going to talk about Eevee's overall performance in the champion battle to keep this section short. Eevee takes out Mega Pidgeot with Buzzybuzz, Vileplume gets beat by Glitziglow, Bouncy Bubble takes out Marowak and Rapidash, Buzzybuzz takes out Slowbro, and as for Raichu, just use Double Edge. Eevee's overall performance of Trace is relatively great if equipped it with this moveset. Moving on to post-game, Red and Green overall, Eevee does decently well against both of these trainers. For Green, Eevee has Glitziglow for Gengar and Victory Bell, Buzzybuzz for Blastoise, and Bouncy Bubble for Ninetales. Clefable can just be Double Edge, and Kangaskhan can also be. Red is in a different league, but if your Eevee is high enough leveled, I don't think you'll have that many problems. Eevee has Glitziglow for Machamp and Venusaur, Bouncy Bubble for Arcanine, and the rest of his Pokemon you can just use Double Edge.
And when you tally up all the points we've made for Eevee, this is the rating we decided to give it. And this ultimately leads to the bad points I have for Eevee. First, let's talk about its typing. Well, yes, it's good that it only gets one weakness to fighting and gets an immunity to Ghost. It really sucks that it gets no stab super effective hits and doesn't resist anything as well. This is the main reason why I couldn't give Eevee the full 5 points on things, because 1, there's only one ghost type Pokemon used in the main game, so that immunity doesn't really matter. And 2, yes, it does get a lot of coverage, which is nice, but with no stab super effective hits, it doesn't guarantee a knockout in one hit. And even though Eevee has gotten a much much needed stat buff for these games, it could still be better off attacking wise to make up for the lack of super effective stab hits.
On top of what Eryizo mentioned earlier about Eevee's bad points, there are also some battles that we kind of glossed over that need some more context and attention. The first battle involves Sabrina's team with all her Psychic-type Pokemon. They all have really high special defense, and her Mr. Mime has the ability to set up screens. Light Screen halves the damage done from special attacks, so Batty Bad does well, but it's halved. Blaine's team is fairly easy, but if Eevee gets hit by a Flare Blitz, it can hurt very bad, so be mindful of that. Bruno is a huge problem for Eevee, especially with his Machamp. Man, is that thing scary. Please watch out for Superpower. I honestly wouldn't recommend using Eevee period against Bruno. Okay, so for Trace, there were a lot more battles, and I'm gonna sum them up. Throughout most of it, Eevee does pretty neutral against pretty much all of his Pokemon, giving it a 3. Until it gets super effective moves from the move tutors, then it becomes a 4 instead of a 3. A few of his threatening Pokemon consist of Pidgeot and Rapidash. Pidgeot can Mega Evolve, so that is a threat, and like Blaine, getting hit by a Rapidash Flare Blitz can sting pretty hard. Lastly, we have Red and Green. Green has a Kangaskhan that knows Brick Break, so that can hurt too because of Kangaskhan's really high attack. She also has Screen Sitting Clefable, so that can get annoying too. Both Blue and Red also have Megas. Red having Mega Venusaur and Green having Mega Blastoise. Two more Pokemon to add in are Red Snorlax and his Machamp. Machamp is a big fat no-no, and Snorlax is just way too fat, plus it has Toxic and it can just stall you forever.
So as you can see, Eevee does have its clear-cut problems in these games, and by no means is perfect in any way, shape, or form. But at the same time, it does have its strong points of having great coverage. But is that enough to make Eevee the best starter? Well, Mystic, I think it's time we finally start talking about Pikachu.
Agreed. Pikachu has a couple of advantages over Eevee, having a clear better typing in Electric. That helps Pikachu a lot, getting 5s in a lot of categories. Pikachu, like Eevee, has a lot of stat improvements in its partner form versus its regular form. Like Eevee too, Pikachu also gets some neat exclusive moves like Floaty Fall, Splishy Splash, and Zippy Zap. Pikachu also gets Thunderbolt at level 21, and this is a 90 base power attack by the time you get to Misty, and that's a really powerful stab attack at that point in the game, especially with Pikachu's new buffs as your partner Pokemon.
And since we mentioned Misty, let's quickly run through the gyms and how Pikachu stacks up against them. Brock first, again, is really easy for Pikachu because like Eevee, it also gets Double Kick early on. From there, it's pretty obvious it mows through Misty, can do fine against Surge with Dig, and with Erica, you get Floaty Fall, a flying type move, and Celadon.
Moving on to Koga, the moveset that we have for Pikachu at this point is Thunderbolt, Splishy Splash, Floaty Fall, and Iron Tail, which you can get from the Celadon department store. Dig is also effective for Koga, but I think at this point in the game, Dig isn't worth having, especially because it's a 2-turn move. With that said, it does pretty neutral against Koga's team, considering that we don't have Dig at this point in time. You can have Dig on Pikachu, so to be fair, we will give it a 4 for this battle. Sabrina's pretty much the same case, being Pikachu does neutral against her overall. With Blaine, Splishy Splash comes into play, so you have that move for him. Giovanni, you have Splishy Splash too.
Moving on, now we have the Elite Four, which from the start, Pikachu destroys Lorelei with Thunderbolt and Iron Tail, so that's a straight 5. From there you have Bruno, which you do have Floaty Fall for, and Poliwrath just gets destroyed by Pikachu, and then for Onix, you have Splishy Splash. For Agatha, it's pretty much neutral at a 3 aside from the Golbat, and for Lance, it destroys everything except for Dragonite, which Pikachu doesn't really have an answer for.
For Trace, just like Eevee, he does neutrally well against most of his team. In the beginning, it does neutral against Eevee. Later on, he gets a Pidgey, which then he later evolves into Mega Pidgeot, and Pikachu obviously destroys that. It does well against his Vileplume line once Pikachu gets Floaty Float. He gets a Cubone later on, and then later evolves it into Marowak. Splishy Splash can take care of that. Trace's Eevee evolves into Jolteon later, and Pikachu just cancels out with its typing. His last two Pokemon when we get to the champion battle include Slowbro and Rapidash. Slowbro is easily taken care of, so there are no worries there, and Rapidash is taken out with Splishy Splash.
Now when it comes to Team Rocket, while Pikachu isn't as good compared to Eevee, it's still a very efficient Pokemon to use. And that is simply because of the fact that it gets a straight 5 against probably the most common Pokemon they use, being of course Golbat. Unfortunately though, that is the only Pokemon it has the advantage against. The other 5 are all just neutral, which isn't bad, but at the same time, it's not the best. As for Jesse, James, and Archer, it's all pretty much neutral as well, with of course the exception being Golbat.
Red and Green are the last trainers we talk about with Pikachu. Like Trace, Pikachu does neutrally well against most of their Pokemon. With Green, Pikachu does great against Blastoise, giving it a 5. Ninetales is taken down with Spushy Splash. Victory Bell is taken down with Floaty Float. All the rest of her Pokemon, Pikachu is neutral against. For Red, Pikachu cancels out Pikachu, but due to it having all IVs and higher stats, I guess there is a slight advantage. Just make sure Pikachu is a high enough level. Pikachu can use Floaty Float against Machamp and Venusaur, and it does neutral against Snorlax. Lapras, however, gets decimated by Pikachu, giving it a 5 in that regard.
And now when we tally up the points for Pikachu, these are the results we got. But before we get to the final score, there are a couple of points I want to address. First, while yes, Pikachu does have a clear-cut better typing than Eevee, allowing it to get some 5s on the board, there's some things that are just lacking. The stat distributions, while very good in some areas, makes me very fearful for Pikachu if the opposing Pokemon can take a hit, because those defenses are literally paper thin. I also don't like the fact that Pikachu also gets less coverage moves than Eevee, which really limits its versatility offensively.
So once again, with specific teams that Pikachu is neutral against, there are some flaws I want to point out. Against Sabrina, like with Eevee's case, her Mr. Mime has screens. Screens play a part against Sabrina, but she's not impossible to beat with Pikachu. Blaine, like I mentioned this with Eevee, his Pokemon have Flare Blitz. Pikachu has paper defenses. Your Pikachu will go down even with a Spushy Splash. I guarantee it will not one-hit KO. Giovanni has ground Pokemon even with Spushy Splash. Nidoqueen and Nidoking will not go down in one shot. With Bruno, Onix can go down relatively easily with Spushy Splash, and his fighting types can go down with Floaty Fall, but his Machamp has Earthquake for it. Moving on to Lance, you would think Pikachu does great against Lance's team on paper. However, there lies a huge problem. His Aerodactyl. Aerodactyl has 130 base speed and has access to Earthquake. Pikachu may do well against Aerodactyl, but if that Earthquake hits, I guarantee it will end Pikachu. Trace has a Marowak, and if that Spushy Splash doesn't KO, Pikachu is gone. Lastly, with Red, he has a Snorlax and Machamp with Earthquake. Machamp can be countered with Floaty Fall, but like Bruno's Machamp, I don't think it will go down in one shot.
So with that said, I think it's time we do the final tally and add up both of the starters' scores to find out which one is really the best starter Pokemon. And if you guys were keeping score back home, then you should already know who it is at this point, but to add a bit more of a dramatic effect, can I get a drum roll please? And the scores are in. The official best starter Pokemon in the Let's Go games has to be Eevee. Alright, first things first, by no means is Pikachu a bad starter Pokemon. It's actually a very good choice as well, but according to the stats, Eevee is just a bit better. While Pikachu's super effective stab hits are nice, the lack of coverage moves really hurts this Pokemon, especially when it comes to poison types. That's really where Eevee took control. Since Team Rocket is so prevalent in the story and you're always constantly facing them, having Glitzy Glow is just really nice.
Eevee has better well-rounded stats, and it comes in a lot more handy when it comes to a Pokemon where it needs to take a hit. Eevee's other evolutions came to its rescue by giving it access to all these moves. It just gives Eevee a better advantage in battles where Pikachu lacks. Eevee just performs better.
And I think that settles it. The best starter in Pokemon Let's Go is Eevee. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like and let me know in the comments section below. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and become an Eryizo today. I also want to give a big shout out to Mystic for joining me today and helping me out with this video. It's always fun working with you, pal.
No problem. I love working with you, and I'm sure the viewers love it too. But yeah, if you guys want a best team revolving around Eevee, click the iCard on the right or the annotation on the left. We make a team revolving around Eevee and we construct it to do the best against all the important battles in the game. I think you guys will definitely be interested in the best team for Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee.
And if you guys are here from Mystic's channel and want to see some more Let's Go videos, click the other annotation on the right. And with that being said, I will see you guys next time.